Hello, everyone. Thank you for having the endurance, the patience, and the interest in this story and in the history of this country that for the most part, when we look on TV, we don't always see our you know look like thugs, gangbangers, but in a boat with guns, right? Because it's in that most major cities, it's the same thing. And I'm not going to go into it anymore. I'm just going to finish up on this article. So just saying thank you for everybody for checking out the other videos. It's important to me to try to get this information out to everybody. And when you're with your family or friends and they talk about this or it's mentioned, or then you can explain to them the history of Somalia and why it is the way they are and why they're doing what they're doing and why they don't have to have a global, you know, world army, navy, just to take out a few ragtag. Um, I guess you can call them pirates, right? Because before it was the British that were the pirates. Now it's them. They're trying to control their own or tax their own little waterways because they have no sovereignty anymore. So now they're the pirates of their own little waterway. But anyways, um, it says that yeah, the 6, 7 men started firing basically pot shots at him. They had to have seen him coming from at least a mile away from the deck. And so what did they do? The crew ran to the bridge where the captain sent out a distress call, put the ship on full steam ahead. So they tucked tail and they ran. Despite the vessel's increased speed and the choppy waters, the pirates balanced the ladder in their tiny boat and crawled up to the side of the ship, he said. You see what I'm saying, guys? How ridiculous this sounds? You guys have to watch South Park. You really do. If you haven't seen that episode, it's effing hilarious. And it's now I know those guys, Matt Stone and Trey Parker. Those guys are hilarious, but they're geniuses, and they know exactly what's going on in the world. And I love how they are able to break it down to people. The first pirate crept through barbed wire through the crew had stretched across the ship's freeboard and fired a burst of automatic gunfire into the air. So see, literally pot shots, right? Trying to get through barbed wire, uh, balancing ladders and choppy waters, and somehow keeping up with this big, humongous ship as cruising full speed ahead. At that point, he said that the ship's crew members had locked themselves in a secure room. All are reported safe. So see what I'm saying here? Are you guys getting the picture? They tuck tail, they full speed ahead, and then they run into a room and hide. I mean, come on, people. The Ariel's distress call was heard by the Indian warship Tabar, which passed it on to the French plane. So you got Indians and French, and what about the Somalian government, huh? What about those guys? According to the history that we've just gone over, they have their own, their own navy, their own government. Um, so obviously these guys aren't going to have the ability to defend themselves, so they just throw some barbed wire and go hide and run, or run and hide. The plane confirmed that the presence of the pirates on deck, said Commander John Huber, spokesman for the EU naval force. The Absalon, which was under NATO command, sent a helicopter, so they had a helicopter to investigate. We saw a small boat and fired some warning shots to make it stop. It was impossible to say whether there were still pirates on board, said Termansen. The hatches were open. The crew, who were in contact with the Danes by telephone, hiding in their office. Come help us, Danish and French and Indians. So you got the French, the Indians, and the Danish out here. Said they seen at least one armed man on deck and had been shot at by others in the skiff. In the meantime, the Ariella was plowing at top speed through the busiest shipping lanes in the world with a cargo of 30,000 tons of steel and no one at the wheel. So I don't really know what's going on with the no one at the wheel. So the crew goes and hides into a secure location, right? They don't defend themselves because they're not allowed to, right? They have to wait for the cops to come protect them, right? Just like how we are. We're like little slaves here in the U.S. where, you know, God forbid we fucking protect our property, which is our life, right? And then our physical property. No, we can't do that. We gotta call the cops and then tuck and hide under a table, right? And expect them to come help us. It's very comical when you look at it. And it's even more funny when it says that there's no one at the wheel. So now the captain, what did the captain do? Did he go and hide too? It says the helicopter couldn't see anyone on the bridge on the deck, and there was no response to 2 warning shots fired across the bow. The Termansen said he didn't know if there were any pirates on board or not, but he decided that the ship had to be stopped. He dispatched a team from Denmark's elite frogmen unit. They bounced across the waves in a dinghy and scaled the sides of the cargo ship using grappling hooks. So here you go, the saviors, right? The elite frogmen, you know. That's the only thing that's going to stop these pirates. Something must be done. Problem, reaction, solution. They secured the bridge, released the crew, and then launched an hours-long search for the pirates. And, of course, they found no one. I don't know if he jumped aboard when they saw the helicopter or later when they saw the special forces. We searched the ship for hours and didn't find anybody. Commander Michael Bill, head of the Danish Admiralty, I think I pronounced that right, in Western Denmark, said he did not believe there were any pirates on board, and the Antigua and Barbuda flag ship when the special forces arrived. Quote, "It is our clear understanding that there were no hijackers on board, but our helicopter had deterred in action." So it's because of the helicopters firing pot shots and warning shots and frogmen grappling the fucking sides that saved the day, right? Termansen said that even if he had known there were pirates on board, the danger of having the Ariella with no one at the wheel meant that he might have sent the special forces anyway. So yeah, the ship was cruising full speed, running away from the pirates, while the crew and then the captain are running away in the ship and hiding. And the ship is just going full speed ahead with no one at the wheel. So the owner of the ship said in a statement that the boat was hijacked for, quote, a few hours on its way from the Black Sea to Indonesia until international military units liberated the ship along with its 24 crew members, none of whom were hurt. That was the Slovenia state-run news agency, which is straight-up propaganda, of course. They said for a few hours, but I guess hijack doesn't mean that they have to be on the ship. It just means that there has to be a threat of pirates, right? So that's why they throw that term. They weren't exactly taken over for a few hours. In fact, there was no pirates on board, and they barely even made it onto the deck. So warships typically do not intervene in hijackings because crews may be hit by crossfire. Here's a video that I did before called Underwear Patsy, a diversion from the buildup of warships near Yemen, all in the name of piracy. Going to be able to take on Al-Qaeda even if they were real, so it just justifies us for being there. And of course you have here, oh look at this, December 20th 2009, Chinese warships dock home from Gulf of Aden, which, you know, the Chinese don't usually do. And you got the EU Navor over there in the Gulf of Aden, December 31st 2000. Oh, look at this. We even got the Russians. Russians warship to start new escort in Gulf of Aden Tuesday, January 4th, 2010. Here we go. January 29th, 2010, Iran to send 5th Fleet of warships to Gulf of Aden. Oh, look at this. Royal Navy flotilla withdrawn to cut costs weeks before the Haiti disaster, and this was January 20th, 2010, and they withdrew what? They withdrew these nice little helicopters and landing pads. And then here we go. What came in its place? This little thing. Royal Navy auxiliary ship to deploy for Haiti. So they replaced it with this, a little ferry boat. So they took the warships and moved them to the Gulf of Aden. Warships typically do not intervene in hijackings because crews may be hit by crossfire. So you see how ridiculous that sounds? So you got all these ships here. You have the creation of a Russian-Chinese naval task force, all in the name of fighting piracy, right? All in the name of fighting piracy. So why can't they just take a 30mm cannon or some kind of artillery, whatever, on these ships and just blow the hell out of these little boats? Why are they such a problem? And where were these people? Why are the Danish and other Portuguese and that. Where are all these superpowers? Why are all the warships down there? That's what I want to know. So, thank you so much, everybody.